Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today, inshallah, we will be talking about the altercation that happened between the Sahaba, towards the end of the life of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu an, when he was the third Khalifa, and then onwards, inshallah. But in order to grasp the full picture, we're gonna start, where it all started. So towards the end of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu an's rule as the third righteous Khalifa, some rumors started to spread about him, about his validity as a ruler. So people were thinking he's not fit to rule, right? He's not, being a good and just ruler. And now the source of these rumors all came from one man, and this man was named Abdullah ibn Sabah. Now he was a Jewish man who converted to Islam, quote unquote converted to Islam, towards the end of Uthman ibn Affan's rule, alright? And so he started to spread this rumor that Ali radiallahu an was the executor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he had this belief that every single prophet has an executor, and the executor for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Ali radiallahu an. And so the actual word in Arabic for executor was imama. And so this is where the concept of the 12 imams, this is where they get their name from. It all comes back from this quote of Abdullah ibn Sabah. Alright, so he started to spread these rumors, and so he was able to convince a subset of Kufans, Basrans, and Egyptians, alright, that this is the truth. Alright, and so these people, they all went to Medina, and they went to Talha radiallahu an, Zubair radiallahu an, and Ali radiallahu an. Alright, and they asked them, yo, can you become the new Khalifa for us? But they all denied, because they all knew that Uthman ibn Affan, he deserves to be Khalifa, and he is the rightful Khalifa. Alright, so after that, the followers of Abdullah ibn Sabah, also known as the As-Saba'iyya, alright, they took over Medina for a period of around 40 days. So during this time period, there's lots of riots in the streets, and Uthman ibn Affan was constantly getting slandered and attacked. And in fact, Hassan radiallahu an, he reports that he saw Uthman ibn Affan getting pelted by stones inside of the masjid, to the point where he eventually fell unconscious, alright, and then he had to be taken back to his home. So Medina was under such turmoil, alright, while they were inside of the city. And eventually what ended up happening was Uthman ibn Affan ended up getting killed, and his wife was injured. Alright? So the As-Saba'iyya was the cause for all this. Now after the death of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu an, there were two main groups, alright, which split the ummah. There was Ali radiallahu an, and then there was everyone else, okay? So Ali radiallahu an, he believed that we should not deal with the As-Saba'iyya, okay? We should just be, we should let them be and try to stabilize the ummah first, okay? Because, a leader, right, their political leader, one of the most prominent companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just died, alright? So this is a big time of turmoil. While Muawiyah radiallahu an, Zubair radiallahu an, Talha radiallahu an, and Aisha radiallahu anha, they all believed that no, we should go after the As-Saba'iyya and we should kill them right this moment, okay? So Ali radiallahu an, he first decided, alright, as the new Khalifa, I'm going to deal with Talha, Zubair, and Aisha radiallahu anhuma first, okay? So they were in Basra, okay? So Ali radiallahu an, he took an army, and they also had their own army, alright? And they all went to Basra. Now Ali radiallahu an, he got Al-Qaqa radiallahu an, sorry. And he was an intermediary between the two armies, and he was actually able to get them to agree on peace, okay? So they agreed, everything was at peace, none of the armies had to fight, the problem was solved. But not for the As-Saba'iyya. Now the As-Saba'iyya were also in Ali radiallahu an's army, okay? So in the army, they, during the middle of the night, while everyone was asleep, they went to the tents on the enemy side and they started throwing rocks inside the tents, okay? And they planted a person right next to Ali radiallahu an. Now, the army on the other side, they're like, hey, these guys are throwing rocks at us, it's an ambush, okay, we gotta start fighting. So they all started fighting, and eventually Ali radiallahu anh, he woke up, all right, hearing the commotion. And this As-Saba'iyya, which was planted next to Ali radiallahu anh, he told him, the other army started attacking us first, we are just defending ourselves. Now Ali radiallahu anh, he's a smart man, okay? So he knew that this was all a guise that was put up, a trick that the As-Saba'iyya pulled to make the armies fight so that there's bloodshed and so that people are, so the ummah is more divided, okay? And he's saying he knew that the As-Saba'iyya would not stop causing trouble, but the fighting had started, and so it just had to end at that point, okay? So unfortunately in the battle, Talha radiallahu anh and Az-Zubair radiallahu anh, they died, and this is known as the Battle of the Camel, alright? Because Aisha radiallahu anh was in the center of the battlefield on a camel, and the battlefield kind of surrounded her, okay? So that is known as the Battle of the Camel. Ali radiallahu anh, he eventually ended up winning, as the two main army leaders ended up dying, unfortunately, during this battle. And so then he went to deal with Muawiyah radiallahu anh. Now, the most prominent battle that's needed to known between Muawiyah radiallahu anh is the Battle of Siffin. But first, we need to talk about why Muawiyah radiallahu anh, he's even against Ali radiallahu anh on this in the first place. Now, to be very clear, alright, to be very, very clear, this is just a matter of a difference of opinion, okay? Nothing else, nothing else. The Sahaba never hated each other, they never cursed each other, because this was not what they would do, okay? And Islam removed all sorts of tribalism that was left within them, so it does not make sense for people to claim that Muawiyah radiallahu anh is only fighting Ali radiallahu anh because Uthman radiallahu anh was also part of the Umayyad tribe, okay? This does not make sense. What actually makes more sense is that Muawiyah radiallahu anh, he believed that because he's part of the Umayyad tribe, alright, not because of tribalism, but he has the Shari'i right to deal with the killers of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh, okay? He has the right whether to choose, should I forgive them or should we kill them, alright? And so this is a difference of opinion, alright? And this is why they're fighting. Now, during the Battle of Siffin, alright, there was, there's lots of different narrations and lots of false threads that are put in by the Shia, obviously to slander Muawiyah radiallahu anh and his army and this and that. But what ended up happening is that they ended up agreeing that that Syria, right, that area would be given to Muawiyah radiallahu anh, and the rest of the ummah would be with Ali radiallahu anh, okay? And then eventually along the way, Egypt was taken control over by Umar ibn al-As radiallahu anh, who was, under Muawiyah radiallahu anh, alright? Now, one important thing to note, alright, is that Ali radiallahu anh's army, alright, was filled with a bunch of people who did not listen and obey to him. Obviously, we talked about the As-Saba'iyya were in his army, but there was also the people, the Khawarij, the people who did not like the fact that they arbitrated, right? That they made a deal together to end the battle. And so there's also this other subset of group of people which even ended up killing Ali radiallahu anh, alright? And so his army was very divided and they were not listening and obeying to him. And this is one of the reasons why, he wasn't as successful, and this can be, one of the reasons why Ali radiallahu anh eventually ended up dying. Alright, because his army was very divided, was not listening and obeying to him, and eventually it was people from his own army that decided to kill him. Okay, so after he died, Hussein radiallahu anh, he became the Khalifa. Okay, he became the Khalifa, and actually the killer of Ali radiallahu anh, he asked, can I kill Muawiyah radiallahu anh as well? I want to get revenge, I want to kill him. But Hussein radiallahu anh, he said, no, you have no right to kill Muawiyah radiallahu anh. And this just further proves the point that this was not, a tribal conflict. It was purely a difference of opinion. Alright, and the Sahaba, they all still respected one another. Okay, and so this is kind of the main background, alright, to what's going to be said next. Alright, and this is just, the first fitna to the death of Ali radiallahu anh, and this is just the first section. So actually I made a mistake when I was mentioning the death of Ali radiallahu anh to one of the Khawarij. I said Al-Hussein radiallahu anh became the Khalifa. That's false. Al-Hasan radiallahu an, he became the Khalifa after the death of Ali radiallahu an. It was not Al-Hussein. That's a mistake on my part. But there are some main takeaways that I want to mention of this first section, okay? And that is Abdullah ibn Saba and the As-Saba'iyya, they are the main cause, and they were trying to cause disruptions and divides within the Muslim Ummah. Okay? This is what they were trying to do. This is why they instigated the battle. You know, they made sure that Ali radiallahu anhu's army, you know, was not listening and obeying to him, was, you know, full of lots of strife and discomfort. They would not listen to their army leader. Alright? So this is the main takeaway, and inshallah in the next section we're gonna go more into the aqidah of Abdullah ibn Saba and what he actually believed. Alright, and then inshallah. Alright, so disclaimer before we start this second part about Abdullah ibn Saba and his theological beliefs, right? And you know, what he actually believed to create Shi'ism is that some people believe that he doesn't exist. Alright, now Abdullah ibn Saba, when you just look at it, you know, from face value, he seems like the perfect person, alright, straight out of a fairy tale, to explain all the problems with the Ummah and to blame it on this random Jewish man that caused all the strife and destruction within the Ummah, and kind of alleviate any blame from ourselves, right? And, you know, kind of make us feel better about ourselves. Now, that being said, you know, lots of research has been done, Muslims, non-Muslims, and the conclusion is Abdullah ibn Saba did exist. This man was real, alright, and the destruction that he caused was all real, okay? He's not a fairy tale figure. Now, Abdullah ibn Saba is said to come from this area called Yemen. And so, as we mentioned a little earlier, right, they say he was Jewish because there was Judaism, right, in Yemen. Not solely Orthodox, but also mixed with monophysite Christianity. And which is also known to be in Yemen from an earlier date. And some people even tie Abdullah ibn Saba to Jewish Kabbalah. Now this is, you know, a disgusting belief, right? Which, this is a quote about Jewish Kabbalah. It is said, it's a group of esoteric teachings on the essence of God, okay? And so, one of these so-called beliefs is that the creator, okay, God, and the creation are in continuum, okay? Right? They're as one, kind of, alright? It's a kind of complex idea to understand, but basically, Jewish Kabbalah, it destroys the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and kind of, you know, ruins his majesty, alright? Now, the doctrine of the Falashas may also have been affecting Abdullah ibn Saba, as it is similar to modified Christianity. So, all these different sources for what kind of could have made up what he thought. Now, this is important because it is this background and these teachings that he's using to create Shi'ism. Now, during the time of Uthman ibn Affan, he kind of laid out the basis, right? Ali radiallahu anh, being an imam, right, being the executor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and being the person that should have been ruling, should have been the Khalifa, all this stuff, alright? But he kind of took it to another level, alright? Now, one of these beliefs is that the devil, okay, a devil was killed instead of Ali radiallahu anh, and he was then lifted up into the heavens, alright? Now, there are many different places where this belief could have come from, and it is even very similar to the story of Isa alayhi salam, right? As we all know, he's lifted up to the heavens and another man was killed in his place. Now, along with these beliefs, there's also one where they believe that Ali radiallahu anh, he's in the clouds, okay? And that the thunder is his voice and the lightning is his whip, alright? And this belief was very popular among this early time period, and it is known to be true as there's a poet named Ishaq al-Adawi, and he is known in his poems, he ridiculed the people who believed in this at the time, who believed that Ali radiallahu anh was in the clouds or whatever. He was ridiculing them during the same time period, so we know this belief existed at this time. And Finally, they believe that Ali radiallahu anh, he was going to be some sort of messiah. He's going to be like the Mahdi figure, and he's going to come back, you know. And so this Mahdi figure and Ali radiallahu anh being the Mahdi, this is all very important to Shia, to later Shi'ism and their beliefs going forward. And Al-Hasan radiallahu anh even protested the teaching that Ali radiallahu anh was going to come back on the earth before the Day of Judgment. He said, this is all false, none of this is true. This is, my father's not going to do this. He's not some sort of, he's not this sort of like Mahdi figure, okay? And finally, the most important influence, one of the most important influences to tell about Abdullah ibn Saba are the Persian fire worshippers. The Persian fire worshippers. Now, the Persian fire worshippers, they did not want their religion to go away, okay? They wanted to stick around, okay? And so he kind of merged the beliefs, right, of, you know, the few people still in charge, right, of the Persian Iraq sort of area. He kind of merged the beliefs of this new religion, Shi'ism, with their beliefs, okay? And yeah, and so evidence of this is the Izziyah. Now the Izziyah, all right, it combines Persian nationalism and Shi'ism and these beliefs into a play, all right? And at the time of the Safavid Empire, right, this kind of even flourished even more, okay, as they were located in Persia, and they kind of added more of the Persian fire worshipping beliefs into this new Shi'ism religion, okay? And so these are all very important influences, and inshallah in the next section we're going to be talking about the Izziyah itself. Alright, so now we just talked about, you know, what was actually the ideology of Abdullah ibn Saba. And now, inshallah, we're going to be talking about the Izziyah. Alright? And this was kind of mentioned in the previous section towards the end. But the Izziyah is basically, it's a 10-day mourning period. Alright? Mourning, as in like, you know, not, you know, you wake up early in the morning, but like, as in sadness, like grieving, okay? For the death of Al-Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anh during the Battle of Karbala, okay? Now, the Battle of Karbala, this is a very important moment, right, in the Shia community. As you know, as they believe, you know, Hussein ibn Ali, he's one of the Imams, and he died, okay, during this Battle of Karbala. And you can actually say that this is the true defining moment of what made Shi'ism its own religion, okay? Because it is at this moment that really set the fire ablaze. Because all the background was there, but if you want to rile someone up, get someone, you know, heated and ready to move for a cause, imagine the death of a great companion, alright, and someone that you see as an Imam. So the Battle of Karbala can be seen as the beginning of the Shia religion. And so this Izziyah, it's like a play, it's a dramatized play of the events of what happened in the Battle of Karbala. Now, because it's a play, it doesn't mean that every single thing is 100% factual, this is what they 100% believe, but it's still important to look at the different aspects that are included in this play, because there's lots of different and very interesting things that happen during the play. And most importantly, because the Izziyah was created, right, during the time of the Safavid, you know, for the Persian fire worshippers, you know, we mentioned all that stuff, right, to reaffirm those beliefs, but it's also a sense of pride and a way for the Shia themselves to reaffirm their own beliefs, what they think. And so looking at it is very important. Now, the Izziyah is broken up into 3 different like subsections, okay? So there's the, and so inshallah we'll go into each 3 more in depth. So now, the first episode is where the status quo is established, alright? And remember, this is all the play, this is what, you know, the Shia believe, alright, and this and that. And so, Al-Hussein radiallahu anh, he's sleeping, alright, and he's dreaming of him being with his parents in paradise, okay? And, you know, they're all happy together, this and that. And the status quo that's established, there's no justice in the world, There's no natural order. Basically, everything has gone to total ruin. All right. Then the two army leaders of the opposing side, Umar ibn Sa'ad and Shimr, is a guy, he's the one who volunteers to kill al-Hussein radiallahu an. They basically force Zainab, all right, radiallahu an, to force al-Hussein to wake up. Okay, they force him to wake up, so he leaves the camp, all right, and when he's leaving, he goes to everyone and he says, hey guys, I am going to die today at the Battle of Karbala so that I can be an intercessor for your sins on the Day of Judgment. Okay? And this, it sounds so much like we mentioned, there's so many Christian influences when it comes to the Shi'ism. The same thing can be said for this exact moment. This is exactly or really close to what the Christians believe themselves, right? That Jesus, he was going to die and this and that, and he's dying so that he can intercede and forgive everyone's sins, all right? And this is what Al-Hussein is saying in this moment. Now, it ends, right, with Al-Hussein radiallahu an, he's holding up his son, okay, his infant son, he's a baby, he's holding him up in the air, and he's saying, please give us some water, because, the army, and the people at Karbala, they're cut off from the water, okay? They're cut off from the water for a long period of time by the opposing army. And so he says, please give us some water, and the first episode ends with an arrow from the opposing army going right into the baby's throat, all right, that Al-Hussein is holding, okay? And, it kind of completes, the entire themes of no justice, no natural order, and complete chaos. And so this is the first episode. Alright, so now in the second episode, this actually includes two people that were added later on, okay? Later on into the story. So what first happens, right? Obviously the army, the people at the Battle of Karbala, now the people with Al-Hussein, they're all struggling for water. They're very thirsty. So then this dervish from Kabul, he comes and he's coming with lots of water, all right, and he says, let me give it to you. But Al-Hussein he says no. He takes the water from the dervish and he pours it all onto the sand, okay, and he says, I'm not going to be taking any water from you. So that's the first thing. Then next what happens is now, they need lots of help, all right, because they're fighting an entire army. And then Al-Hussein he just, he doesn't really have like an army with him. It's not really an army that happened during the Battle of Karbala. It's more like they were just, a kind of like a caravan that was going towards, So then Za'far, okay, now he's the king of the jinn, apparently in the story. So he offers, hey, I'm going to help you. I'll give you my entire jinn army and we can wipe them out. Alright? But Al-Hussein he once again declines. He says, no, I'm not going to get any help, any supernatural help. Okay? Now, finally, the battle is about to happen. Alright? So Hussein, he draws out his sword and he's about to fight when, just as he's about to start fighting, he gets teleported to India. Alright? And then he meets this guy named Sultan Qais. Alright? Now Sultan Qais, he's about to get eaten by a lion. Okay? And actually Sultan Qais in this portion was one that was in Ta'iziyah from the very beginning. The previous two were added later on. The dervish from Kabul and the Za'far king of the jinn. Now Sultan Qais, alright, he says Hussein he saves him from getting eaten from the lion. Alright, he saves him and he's like, oh, thank you so much. Why don't you stay here in India and you will be safe? Okay, I'll protect you. Obviously he's a sultan, he's a king, okay? He has lots of power over there. And Hussein he once again says, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept your help, but after this day, establish a mourning ritual for me. Establish a grieving ritual for me. So this is, the beginnings of the Ta'iziyah, and this is where, it comes from. The play says this is how, it all started. okay? And then once that, he gets teleported back to the battlefield, and they start fighting, and that's the end of the second episode. Alright, and so now in the final episode, alright, this is the actual battle that's happening. Now, Al-Hussein's son, alright, he dies to the hands of Simr, alright, and, you know, everyone, there's basically lots of death around. And then Al-Hussein radiallahu anh, when he's about to die, his mom, Fatima radiallahu anha, she comes from the grave, and then as he's dying, she accompanies Al-Hussein radiallahu anh as he dies, and then they both go to the heavens together. Alright? And so this is sort of the end of the play. And what's very interesting, alright, now this entire play was very interesting in what Al-Hussein radiallahu anh was doing and this and that. Now, we know it's a play, but the way they depict him, right, they depict him as if he's a prophet, right? You know, he says, I'm going to die today. He knows when he's going to die, alright? Even though no human knows that. He says that he can speak to the jinn, alright? And then, and you know, all his actions, right, they're like purely divine, and he seems infallible, and all these different things, alright? And so it really shows the way and the pedestal that they're putting, you know, their imams to, and the way that the Shia actually see, you know, these different people. And you know, it's very, very interesting what the Ta'iziyah play actually shows us in their theological beliefs. Now, this was all just a summary of the play. Now, if you go more in depth, I'm sure you would be able to find more things, but that's basically the entire Ta'iziyah play. So, you know, altogether, you know, after looking at everything, so much has happened, right? It all started with Abdullah ibn Sabah. He, you know, truly changed the course of Muslim history for the worse, alright? He had such a huge impact. He incited several battles, he created an entire new religion, Shi'ism, and he created an entirely new outlook in life, alright? The wrong one. He's changed the way people should perceive things in a negative way. And Ta'iziyah is a manifestation of this new outlook, alright? It's a manifestation of it. Now, you can see, even during the play, you can see the Christian influences that Abdullah ibn Sabah had when making the Ta'iziyah religion, alright? You can see, you know, the Persian fire worshipping influences in the play, alright? And so Ta'iziyah and what it says and what it's showing, alright? It's all a manifestation of how, you know, they tried to redefine history. And this is one very important thing. We cannot let the enemies of Islam redefine our history, alright? Because then we're only going to be told and fed narratives that actively go against us and try to divide us and separate us, alright? And it's these things that we need to be wary of. Now, another important lesson, alright, from these things is the actual history itself. What happened? You know, the second and first fitna, you know, this is a time when the Sahaba, you know, the best people, you know, after the Prophets, the best of generations, they're fighting one another. They're going in physical combat, alright? Like, this is something that, you know, we should say alhamdulillah, not because it happened, but when we are reflecting on our own situation, alright? We should say, you know, we might have disagreements here and there, but alhamdulillah, we're not fighting one another, okay? And it's not get that bad. But we also have to think, why did these conflicts happen in the first place? Now, we can say alhamdulillah for we're not doing the same mistakes, but we have to learn from it, right? This is the point of history. Learn and grow from it. How do we prevent these things from happening? Well, who has incited all these things? Abdullah ibn Sabah. So we have to know who our enemies are, and we have to know if they are among us. All right, we have to know, are these enemies the same people in our army? Are the enemies of Islam, right? The people, right, who killed Uthman ibn Affan are the people that are gonna end up killing you in the future, like the Khawarij. Are they in your army right now? We have to make sure that the next generation of Muslims, that the people that we take hand in hand, that we are going and, you know, advocating for Islam for, that they have the right aqidah, alright? We have to make sure that they have the right aqidah, so that we do not fall into the same trap that the Sahaba that ended up dividing them. Okay, because all what happened between them, they were incited and they basically were forced into fighting one another. We want to avoid this from happening, and we want to be careful of who's telling us our history as well. All right, these are the two main takeaways. And, we can even see this actively happening right now. Okay, of trying to redefine our history, of trying to make new narratives. Okay, you can, for example, the Abraham Accords. All right, this is a kind of like a new religion that is trying to be made, that's trying to change, what we think about Islam and how it interacts and the thoughts that we have. We cannot let this become a new Shi'ism. Okay, we cannot let the same thing happen. We have seen the effects that Shi'ism has on the way we view history, especially the first and second fitna, and how, sometimes the Umayyad is viewed and stuff like that. And so we have to be careful, we have to protect ourselves, and inshallah this can all be a learning moment for all of us, so that we can become better Muslims, and so that we do not fall into the same traps. Jazakumullahu khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.